It doesn't matter if you have a royal flush. If I know you have one, you're not going to make no money off of me. It doesn't matter if you don't have a good hand if you act like you got a royal flush. I know people who had absolutely nothing in their hand and they won the whole pot with nothing in their hand. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what hand you have in life. You could come from the richest parents in the world and still get strung out on drugs, still end up in prison somewhere, still hang with the wrong people and die at a young age. Or you could come from poverty and become the next best whatever. It does not matter the hand that you're dealt in life. It only matters how you play it. So you owe you to play your hand to the best of your ability. Man, I don't know that every motivational speaker in the world has a degree. Okay, so what? I'll get as many degrees as I want. I don't care what it takes to be number one. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And it's not, well, this person doesn't have to do that. Why should you do? I don't care. Their life and my life are two different lives. But if there is a path, we're going to figure out what it is and we're going to blaze that joker.
We have a big treat today. Well, for me anyway. We have Eric Thomas, who is otherwise known as E.T., the hip hop preacher, like his sweatshirt says.
Yes.
This is, I am like a huge, I'm like a fangirl right now because I love your stuff.
Thank you so much.
Really.
Thank you.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
This guy has the most inspirational, motivational videos. I think probably one of the best. You know, in the top three for sure.
I won't debate you.
Yeah, don't debate me on it.
I won't debate you.
I mean, you do everything. You're like a world-renowned motivational speaker, a pastor, an educator, a counselor. You do so much, and also so much good. Like you take your superpower, and you really did harness it in a way that has helped so many kids and everybody. So I don't even know where to. I guess let's begin with. How, like your whole thing, like how did you kind of had a rocky background.
Yes.
So talk about how, like your background, how you kind of found that this was your superpower.
So I think my rocky background is what revealed it, right? So
let's tell people what is your background?
Well, I think, what they probably need to know or would be interested in is you have a very unique story in that, my mother is a teenage mom, which is not unique. She was 17 when she got pregnant. But I'm one of the few kids that wasn't raised with his father, but was raised with my father's family and didn't know my father was my father. So that's kind of, weird. So it's like my grandma, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, like I know everybody, but I'm thinking my father is a family friend. And I'm thinking the person that raised me is my real father. Now, I'll be honest, I always had this inclination that he's not my father, from a very young age. And then there were people who shared with me in their own special way that he's not your father. So kind of like in the back of my mind, it was always this thing of who's Spider-Man? You know what I'm saying? Like take the mask off. Like who is Spider-Man for real, for real? And so I confronted my mother at about 12, almost 13 about it. And my mom told me, no, that's not your father. And so you can imagine, the person that you entrust with your whole life, your mom, like, moms don't lie, moms are people of integrity, whatever, and to find out that my mother lied to me and kept that from me. And I think the biggest piece too was like, yo, how did she pull this off? Like, how did she get all these people to go with her story?
And not tell you.
It's like unbelievable.
But people did kind of tell you here and there,
but not overtly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't confront it head on.
Yeah.
How
did she do that?
I don't know. I still don't know to this day.
You never asked her that?
We never talk about it. It's one of those things where, even honestly, when I wrote my first book, my mom was kind of hurt. And I was kind of like, what are you hurt about? This is my story. But I get it. She's kind of like, yeah, but it's mine too. So I don't know that she ever really wanted to share it with the world. It's kind of like she told me, I'm going to tell you when I think you were ready to know. And I figured out some other kind of way. So I think for her, she was kind of like wanting to wait to tell it to the world until she felt she was ready, whatever. And I ended up telling it. So I think, when you talk about, forget homelessness. Yes, I was homeless. I ran away from home when I was 16, lived in abandoned buildings, ate out of trash cans, all of that. But I think
I love how you say it so like matter of fact, nonchalant, like everybody does that. Like eats out of trash cans, like lives in abandoned buildings. Most people, well, depends on where, it's all relative, but it's not,
most people,
it's not so, it's not that common, like where you're saying it like, you brush your teeth, you get, you brush your hair, you go to, you know.
But to me, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it happened.
Right.
And I think.
How many years were you doing that?
2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. So it happened, but I think where a lot of people go wrong in life is like they actually live as if they're experiencing it right now. Like when they talk about their past, it's almost like you still living it. It's like, I was homeless. It was a portion of my life. But actually, when you make a cake, it's the eggs, it's the flour, it's the salt, it's the sugar, it's the nutmeg, whatever. It's all of that makes the cake. So for me, homeless was a part of why I made the cake the way I made the cake in life. Like why I actually care about people.
Yeah.
Like because I've been rock bottom, why I'm so patient, because I had nothing and people came in my life and supported me. So it's like that homeless period also, I think one of the biggest things it did, and I'm so grateful for, is it humbled me.
Yeah.
It's like I know a lot of people who would be like top 3 speakers in the world who would be arrogant, who would be so self-centered, narcissistic. You know what I'm saying?
They probably are.
Right. You feel me? But for me, I feel like had I not been homeless, maybe I would have. But the homeless thing is what, really has always allowed me to know, like, look what God brought you from. And so don't you ever get to the point where you get so high that you forget how low you were. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that's the thing that makes me empathetic, sympathetic, caring, connect with people. Like most people can't connect with a lot of people because they haven't been that far down.
Right.
So I've been so far down. I connect with you if you are homeless. I connect with you if you're the best at what you do. So homelessness really, I feel, has given me a lifelong advantage.
Well, I feel like, and you talk about this also in your, by the way, I should say, he has a book called You Owe You. Yes. I didn't even say that because I was just so excited.
That's okay.
That I was just rambling. But you talk about it in your book, but a lot of times, like it is those negative, those bad times that really do build a person's real character and gives you the empathy and the compassion for later on. But I also think some of it is innate. Like there are people who are naturally much more empathetic and much more connecting. Like we'll talk about that after, like how you do all that stuff. But so then like that, you're talking about how that whole process kind of created who you are. And then when you started, like, you dropped out of school, I mean, which is interesting because you have a PhD, right?
Yes.
Which is amazing because until I read your book, I didn't know that it took you 12 years to do like a 4-year degree and that like you really like weren't a school person.
Not at all.
So then why, like, how did that happen? Talk about that a little bit because.
One of the cool things about being in the industry, again, and I'm just sharing it so that people can get the concept. But do you know what it takes to get to like the top 3 motivate? Like, I
just said that randomly, by the way. You might be the number one motivator.
Who knows? But I'm just saying that's all relative, right?
It's all relative.
But I'm saying what's not relative is that I'm considered one of the best.
That's for sure.
Do you understand how hard that is just in life in general to get to the top of any industry? Like that's a feat. Like it takes a lot to do that. And one of the cool things about when I got in the industry and I started studying the Zig Ziglars and the Les Browns and the Tony Robbins is I realized who they were and what they were and what it would take for me to get there. Like, a lot of people have dreams and goals and like you ask them, what do you want to do? I want to be a multimillionaire. But when you look at their expectations and their grind, it's like, whoa, you're never going to get there. Like from what your day-to-day life looks like, your schedule, your level of execution, you're not going to get anywhere close to where you dreamed of. I literally looked at the Ogmandinos of the world. I looked at all of the people that were in the industry, Covey and I was like, I can do this.
What made you know that though?
I just knew since I was a child that speaking was my thing, that I loved it. And for whatever reason, okay, this is old, but E.F. Hutton, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
I knew like with the E.F. Hutton boy, when certain people talk, people listen. And in school, when I would, hey, we're going to mess up the class because it's a substitute teacher, or we're going to go and do something we don't have no business doing. Like when I was young, people followed me. So I always knew that when I speak, people hear, people listen.
Listen to your voice now. I mean, it's so captivating.
Yeah.
You know, when I was watching some videos last night before, you know, just because I was like trying to like remind myself of some of the stuff I've seen, it literally it vibrates in your body.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and it's so yes, like when you talk, it's like it hits the person viscerally.
Yeah.
So you as a kid, you knew you had this already.
Not that part.
But you knew people were following you.
Yeah,
like,
I knew people, like I would talk and people would listen, and I wasn't an athlete.
Right.
You know, I wasn't, 6'6", and I didn't have it was just my voice people followed. Yeah. And I knew like, yo, they're following me because of what I say.
Right.
And so at a certain point, I realized, wow, this is a thing. Like Martin Luther King had a voice, Garvey, Malcolm X, Sojourner Truth, Rosa Parks. Like I would watch TV, John F. Kennedy, Winston Churchill. Like I'm a kid and I would notice that people who had voices got an opportunity, lifestyles of the rich and famous. I knew like people are watching this because of his voice.
His voice was amazing.
It was amazing. Like forget what he's saying. In the first, you got the right thing, baby. I would listen to singers because I'm from Motown, and Mike had this voice as a kid, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. And it's like, they were drawn by his voice. So I always knew it's like, wow, it seems like a lot of people who are successful, like they have a voice and people listen and people want to be around them. So I knew at a very young age, but in college, I knew, okay, they don't want to go to chapel or they don't want to go hear that speaker. But whenever I present, people who don't like to hear speakers like to hear me speak.
Right.
And I knew then like, yo, you got something. And if you want to be, and I never wanted to be among the greats, to be honest with you, but if I wanted to be successful in the arena like they were, I did not have some of the other things that I needed to be successful. And what do you call it? Like when you say to somebody that that they need to be refined.
Yeah.
Like I knew I wasn't refined. I knew it was just raw talent. And by going to school and getting degrees, I knew that would take the raw talent, refine it, and allow me to impact people in a way that I wanted to impact people.
Well, first of all, I've got so many things to say to that. Number one, the first thing is you do say this also in your book, you need to have some structure within that superpower, or else it's just like unharnessed, garbage, really what happens, right?
No question.
So then it's interesting. So you kind of, and if you it's true, Robin Leach, even Tony Robbins, there is an element of just the simple voice.
Absolutely.
Forget about like all the other, like the work ethic and the discipline and all that other stuff. Just the actual vessel.
Absolutely.
Because when you walked in, or even when I talked to you on the phone, your voice is super, like it's unique and it's like so dominating and authoritative. Yeah. And so is Tony Robbins.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what happens for people who don't have that like raw talent? Can they, what would happen? So they just wouldn't be able to be in this space?
No, I think so. I think one of the speakers that I grew up listening to that I have a lot of respect for, but until I understood cadence, I didn't really realize, Malcolm X doesn't have a good voice.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to Malcolm X, like he doesn't have a command, like he doesn't have a Martin Luther King, I have a dream that one day, like that, you hear that speech over and over and over, and people still don't get tired of it today.
That's
like
true.
They're still playing it in January, February. So for me, I realized that you can be, but there are other skills that you have to develop around people following you that may not necessarily be your voice. But I was like, yo, one of the marquee advantages to being a speaker is a voice.
Totally.
And I was like, well, I happen to have one, so I need to take advantage of it in a way that before the university, I wasn't taking advantage of it.
So it's kind of like if you are 7 feet or 6 foot, whatever. Then like you have that advantage to be a basketball player. If you were like a mathematician.
Yes.
So it's basically you kind of like figure out very quickly what you're really good at and then leaned really into it.
And I think what was challenging for me is that one, there were not a lot of African-American motivational speakers.
Right.
A lot of preachers,
That's true, yeah.
but not motivational speakers. Les Brown was probably the only one. So with Les doing it, it doesn't necessarily make you feel like basketball. Okay, you can cut on TV and see hundreds of thousands of basketball players from ever, football, forever, baseball, forever. You don't cut on the television or go online and see motivational speakers. Right. So for me, that was the part that was a little bit challenging was, okay, how do I do this and do it as a profession? Like, I know I can do it and inspire people, but how do I do it in a way? And that's when I realized, you're gonna have to go to school. And I didn't go to school for motivational speaking. Not that you thought that I did, but I actually went to school for teaching, right? My degrees are in education. But some kind of way I knew the more educated I was, the more command I could have of the gift. And then I studied a little bit of psychology in school. So I knew that I could command the gift in a way that I could use it to benefit me both financially and impact in terms of the world.
But also, like you said, you already had like all that raw talent, right? People were already following you. You had a good voice. Yeah. And then how much time and effort did you put into like honing it with trying to like practice the cadence and all that stuff? And how did you practice? What was your thing?
So in the beginning, it was, man, I got all this charisma, but I'm not using it in a way that's productive for me. Everything I touched as a young adult, it just seemed like I destroyed it. Like it wasn't the same. Like, it's not like now I touch something, now it turns to gold, right? When I was younger, it was like, I've got a gift, but I don't have the character to go with it. I don't have the knowledge to go with it. It was kind of, to some extent, it wasn't advantageous because it was like, yo, you can move the crowd, but you move them the wrong way. Right. It's like, yep, you can get people hyped, but after they get hyped, what to do? And so for me, it was like, yo, you got to go to school. The same way a Michael Jordan had to have a Phil Jackson in order for him to win a championship. The same way Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali needed a coach. It's like, yo, you really need a coach, and not just for your mouth. You need a coach for your mind and for your character. And so I started reading every book I could get my hands on, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Greatest Salesman in the World, Speed of Trust. I was like, Eric, you got to work on your character. Like, you got to work on being a person of integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, following through. Like, I already knew the gift is there, and the gift is going to take you places that your character can't keep you or your intellect can't keep you. And so it's like, all right, you got to go to school. You got to learn how to read. You got to learn how to write. You got to learn how to comprehend. Like, you got to take school serious, and not just the homework. Like, you got to learn the process. Like, how important, like, studying every day or studying so many hours a day or going in the dictionary, even though you don't feel like a dictionary, like going into the thesaurus, even though you're like, why? You are a speaker. So the more your vocabulary increases, like, you will be able to go from elementary to middle to high school to college to corporate to NFL, NBA. And so for me, it was just like, you need a complete overhaul, bro.
It's also like what you're good at, and this is probably what you also practice, I would imagine, that it's not just your voice, it's also the word combinations.
Absolutely.
Right? You are very good in that, and that's what like really hits me like very, very like deeply. It's like, it's the combinations that we all kind of know common sense wise.
Yeah. But
when you put them together, it's like acrobatics, like verbal acrobatics kind of, right? Like it's, I told you when I first met with you, like, don't be afraid, don't be upset by the results you did not get for the work you did not do. It's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Or like, I have so many of them. I can go on and on. But like, so like, how did you model that from somebody else? How did you
for sure. So the first one was growing up in Motown music. When you're listening to Marvin Gaye, and I want you to want me like I want you.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, he's playing on words. The Temptations. The month of May. You know what I'm saying? When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. Like, would you say what can make you like? Those are like, that's the wordplay. Michael Jackson. Mike would be got to be there in the morning, and it's like he's giving us that little kitty voice. He's singing about a rat. What I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, is he singing about a rat? And so then we go into hip hop. and you know, LL, you know, My Radio, you know, what was the song? I Need Love, you know, and so you're listening to all this Run DMC, you know, My Adidas, and it's like I'm as a kid, I'm hip hop. Friends, how many of us have the ones we can't be? And so I'm like, oh, okay, I see people are drawn to music. People are drawn to certain artists. Okay, good. So I know how to do that, but now I need to up my word vocabulary. I need to read the one of my favorite books, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I need to learn stories.
That's one of your favorite books?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books. Storytelling. Like I love Zig Ziglar because he told a lot of stories.
Yeah.
So I noticed that less than 20% of the world's population have college degrees.
How many is that?
Less than 20% of the world. So I started saying, okay, Eric, do me a favor. Let everybody else worry about the 20%. Like the 80% is much better. And what's the 80%? They don't go to school. Like I had a friend of mine who said, you know, that's not proper English. I said, what? How, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. I was like, oh, okay, what is it? When you want to succeed as badly as you. I said, that don't even make sense. That don't even sound right. In terms of cadence, now, of course, it sounds right to my academic side, right? But that's less than 20% of the world's population. I'm focused on the 80. The 80 is common people who didn't go to college, who didn't probably finish high school. It's way more of them than it is people who went, got a college degree, a master's degree. Matter of fact, the reason why I never talk about my PhD is because that really separates me from everybody.
I was going to say that. And that's exactly what makes you, you're very relatable, right? Like you can relate to people. And I think you're right. Like, I think that when someone just talks about, or when you know all their accolades, like, oh, I went to Harvard, I did this and this, it like just even psychologically, it separates you from the masses of people, right? Yeah. So you really you've learned and you really figured this out, that being like just like everybody else, like makes relatable is really, it works.
Yeah, and we are like everybody else, except for a couple little things.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And people don't connect to that stuff, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Like people don't like me because I did this and I was that. Like people think that they need to kind of tell you everything that they've done on one hand to impress you. Yeah. And to kind of make you connect with you. Absolutely. But it's the opposite.
Absolutely.
Right? Like nobody wants to know that. Like at the end of the day, if you're a jerk, I'm not going to like you anyway. Yeah. Right? Like you walk in here and like this, you're so likable.
Yes. Thank you.
But you are, you know you are. Obviously, I'm not the only one, right? Millions of people would agree.
Yeah, but some wouldn't. So thank you.
Oh, okay. You're welcome.
You're the ones that do. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. But it's like the people don't care if your English is perfect.
At all.
It wouldn't even it doesn't even, the cadence, like you said, like if people listen to these videos, I listened to one, hold on. I'm going to pull it up actually yesterday.
I love it.
I mean,
right here, right
now. It was so good. I want to know where it is now. Damn it.
Yeah, it's okay.
It was about, hold on, I got to find this.
It's just tell me, I could probably help you.
I know you probably know it yourself, but it's like giving I've got so many here. I don't know purpose. I don't know. I can't find it now.
Okay. I'll talk some more. Next time I talk a long time, you can look for it when I'm talking.
It's just, I'm telling you, there's so many though. About like powerful, like, your old you didn't catch up to your new you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess your most popular one was from the secret
to success,
right?
The guru story.
The one about the breathing or the.
Yeah, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe badly, then you'll be successful.
That's the most, is that the one that kind of like was the tipping point where everyone started to kind of know who you were?
Yeah, so let me say this, because I think this is important for people to get. It's almost like, it's a combination.
Okay.
It's a combination of, okay, this person has a hit. But for some people, it's like they had a hit. Oh, they're one hit wonder.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But then you look at the reason why I like Michael Jackson is because like he has a library from when he was 5-6 years old to the time he passed, right? There's a library. Ray Charles, it's a library, right? Anita Baker, it's a library. I just saw something when I was driving by, the story of Elvis. Like Elvis got a library of not only rock and roll, but gospel. Like he's got a library. So I think what happened was this combination of, wow, who is this guy? But then you go online because you want to look up Eric Thomas, who he is. And then you see, wow, he's got 10, 11 years of free content. He's got a library. So in your mind, you're like, that's what, like if you'd have just been one video, it'd have been like, woo, one video, this kid is good. But the one video, then every day you're getting 2-3 videos. It's like, okay, he's legit. He's a real deal.
100%. That's how be powerful. That was the one about like, be powerful, be disciplined. Mm-hmm. You take these like one things, and then you like build, and then you scream and yell, and then and then you quiet down, like all of that.
Absolutely.
So that's all intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the attention span of this generation is 15 seconds. So I'm going to scream and yell and be super passionate. Why? Because I've got 10 to 15 seconds with you. Then after that 10 or 15 seconds, then we can kind of go into, and it's gotten worse. Like, so when I first started, the attention span might have been 8 minutes, 5 minutes. Now, I think it's not even, like TikTok is, you get 60 seconds.
Not even.
So for me, it was, all right, how do they want information? Not how do I want to give it? Because I used to give, you go back all the way, it was like 20 minutes worth of stuff, 15-minute stuff. And it's like, as we got older in the industry, because I started in 2007, as we start progressing, it's like this generation, their attention span is so for me, it was not what do you want and how do you want to give it? It was where are they? Because again, like you said, I have a degree. So if I'm talking to you when you went to college, we could talk, we can go there. But if you didn't, I got a GED, we can go there too. So I don't feel the need to start the conversation and let you know. I feel more like you talk. Let me see where you are. And then I'm going to meet you where you are. If you're Southern, I lived in Alabama for a while. If you're Northerner, we can go there. If you're from Cali, I'm in Cali now. I can figure that out. We can go there. And I find when I connect with people where they are, it's a deeper connection. And when you make a deeper connection, people are more willing to sit down and figure out who you are. And I like him or I don't like him.
Yeah, that's so true. So then how does someone, where do people begin, right? Like, let's say they don't have something so obvious, like a great voice or they're 7 feet tall. How do people really find what their superpower is and then really lean into it if they don't have it?
Why do people like you?
Yeah.
It's just like, why do people like you? So if you're in kindergarten, do they like you because you support them? Like every time they've got like a play or something they're doing, or they got, the girl, when you getting ready for the prom, she's not trying to necessarily go to the prom. She doesn't have a date to the prom, but she's like, I'll do your makeup. I'll shop with you. It's like, yo, that's a gift. Everybody doesn't support people. There are a lot of people who are envious and jealous of people. It's just human nature. It doesn't make them bad people, but some people just, every time they see you doing something, they want to do what you're doing to do. I can do what you do. I can do better. But there are some people who watch you and go, I want to help you. We just get so caught up in this world of thinking, oh, I got to play basketball. I got to play football. It's like, whatever these dominant traits are where people love you, I got to be the next top model. Okay, so you don't even like modeling, but you're going to pretend like you like modeling because you want to be affirmed. I'm saying you're already naturally affirmed for something. There's already a reason why people are drawn to you and like you. So whatever that is, like, put your energy in that. So people love to hear me talk. So I turned it into a profession. I turned it into a career. I talk the cool thing about the internet is there's no limit to talking. TikTok will let you put up as much as you want, Instagram. And so we just put stuff up. Everybody doesn't like it, but millions of people do. I think that one video has over 100 million hits.
The one, the secret to success. Why do I keep, why? Because I did a talk called The Secret to Getting Anything You Want. So I always get confused by that one in mine.
That's your association with The Secret.
That's right. So I always try to say mine, not your title. And that one has 100 million views.
Yeah, over 100 million views. So I'm saying, if you draw. If you talk. If you write. But I was talked out of, and I talk about it in the book, I was talked out of playing the violin. Like, I love the violin. I was on my way here. I'm listening to the piano and the violin. I love the violin, but I was talked out of it because it was like, bro, that's not cool. Like, that's not urban. Like, you can't get an urban card playing the violin. But I was like, yo, imagine this disciplined version of Eric if he had a violin and spoke. What would it be like if I spoke and played the violin at the same time? Like, my money would triple, double. I'd be all over the world, the Western world, Africa. I would have been, and I know whenever I touch something, I'm so unique and original. I would have taken the violin and probably made a new string that they didn't have, so stop wanting to be affirmed so much so that you end up doing something you think people would like you for. So now you're going to change your whole personality, your whole character to be liked by somebody. And guess what? They're not going to like you because that's not your authentic self. So when we met the first time, I didn't go, okay, I don't know her. I don't know if she's recording me. I don't know if she's going to say what I said to somebody else. I don't know. I don't care. I'd rather go down being my authentic self than being what I think you want me to be and then jacking up the whole relationship. I just rather be myself. And if it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. But if it works out, man, what could be the mutual benefit for being two authentic people? So I would just say there's a reason why people like you. There's something, you dress a certain way. Okay, then become a fashion artist. If people love you in high school for the way you dress, get in fashion, but figure out who your authentic self is and be that. And I'm telling you, man, when you're yourself, it's just, I can't explain it, but it's just so liberating and explosive and it's innovative, creative. Like I just feel so alive when I get to be Eric Thomas.
And also the superpower of whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily have to be your career,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
It can be in anything, right?
Yeah.
And so then like, there's so many, like, there's a lot of people who have self-doubt, right? Even if, like you were saying, because of all these external forces, they need like validation from whoever, and then they go into that and then they're miserable, right? There's also people who feel like the world has kind of done them wrong. And that's another big one, right? The victim mentality. And you talk about that a lot as well, which is interesting because like that was what I said to you earlier before we started, because you always have this big smile and you're always like so energetic and happy, except when you're screaming and yelling.
Right. It's an internal happiness.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I thought that you were some way, but then you talk like you're not, like there is a part of you that's still super dark.
Absolutely.
And you have like, is it like a demon or something that is?
I guess it is.
Yeah. How do you kind of get yourself out of that place? How often does it happen? Yeah. And like talk about the whole victim mentality and what it does to people.
So I think the reason why our evil or dark side gets the best of us, or when it gets the best of us, is because we try to pretend like we don't have one. So there was a part of my life where I pretend like I didn't have a dark side because I was concerned about how people would treat me if they knew I had a dark side, which is why I love my mom, which is why I love my wife, which is why I love, CJ, is because those people have been introduced to my dark side and they still love me.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is get people to not know our dark side so they can love us. And it's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, if people love you and they figure out who your dark side is and they don't like your dark side, they're gonna stop loving you. So you might as well, I'm not saying day one, but I'm saying don't be fake. Like,
be authentic.
Be authentic with yourself.
Yeah.
And so there are people who are like, I can't believe Eric Thomas, and that's why we're not cool, because you can't believe or you didn't like my dark side. But every human that's in a deep relationship with another human, there's a dark side. And you have to decide if that dark side is too dark for you, or if you can see the light in the dark side and you're willing to work with that person. So I think the day I no longer was controlled by that demon was the day I realized, like, yo, Eric, you are hurt that your father wasn't in your life. Why are you sitting here lying, trying to be strong for people and act like you didn't care? I do care that he didn't come. I do care that when I played sports, people had their fathers and I didn't have my father there.
Right.
I did care that my biological father was not in my life. I did. To the point where even though my mom married, I couldn't even let him be my father because I wanted my real father. And so I remember tiptoeing around my mom, not wanting to talk about my father because of how it would make her feel. And I was like, no, that's your relationship with him is your relationship. Like you guys were dating or whatever you was doing. That's my blood.
Yeah.
That's like half of who I am, my DNA. So I'm not going to fake it anymore so I can make you happy or I don't make you uncomfortable. Right. No, this is my father. And I want to know my dad. And I want to go get to like meet him one day. And I want to, even though I know who he is, when I say meet, I don't mean physically meet him, but I want to sit down and figure out what makes him tick. What do we have in common? But there was a part of my life where I didn't want people to know that I hurt, that I felt rejection. And then it was like, yo, I'm not only do I want to know who my father is, not only was I hurt that he wasn't in my life, here are some of the collateral damage of not having my father. I do have trust issues. So you need to know coming off the cuff, I got trust issues. Now, will I give you an opportunity? I will. Am I the person who's healthy and will give you 3? Maybe not. Maybe not. No, I'm hurt. So I give it to you and you destroy it. I may not give you 3 or 4 chances. I may cut you off. But know that about me and know that because I'm like that, then when I give you a shot, you probably want to take that opportunity and do right by it and not squander it and think I'm going to forgive you 3 times. So I'm not. So I'm okay with, I got this challenge. I got this. Like, I remember not being able to speak as well as I speak now because there were words I couldn't read and I was embarrassed when I would read and I didn't know the word. I still have some words. I got a GED. A PhD doesn't solve all of my fundamental academic challenges. But now if I don't know a word, it doesn't bother me that I don't know it because you may know every word, but you may not know how to connect with people like I connect with people.
Right.
So I don't feel bad about my insufficiency because you have one as well. Yours may not be as apparent as mine because I'm not afraid to get on stage and read something that I can't read or stumble. And when I got to the point, it was like, yo, E, you got demons. Okay. You didn't cause them. Your mom was 17 years old when she got pregnant with you. Your father wasn't in your life. Like, you didn't ask to be born without a nursery. You didn't ask to be born without, the Leave It to Beaver. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That father knows best. You didn't ask to be born under these circumstances, but you were. And there's some collateral damage with that. And it's okay. You didn't cause it, but you can fix it. You can repair some of the things that happen and make your life better.
So at least you have the self-awareness to know this about yourself.
Absolutely.
First of all. And then also recycling your pain, right? You basically took something that was very painful and you made it
like plastic. You redo it.
Yes. Yeah. And you repurposed it for something that really benefited you.
Absolutely.
So it's about what you do with that pain and what you do with those demons. Right, they can work for you, or you can make or against you.
But they're not going anywhere. People want to act like they're going. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
It is what they are. Too closely related to me.
Right.
We've been together for too long for them just to walk out of my life. But I can repurpose those demons and those bad experiences and those screw ups and those decisions that I made at 19, 20, 21 that I wouldn't make at 51. That's what I'm grateful for.
And I also think that they're necessary to really be safe. Like most successful people I know, they have something about what's happened to them that pushes them and fuels them to be to kind of prove something to themselves. Forget about everybody. Yes, maybe prove it to someone else, but to themselves that they are worthy and that they are good and all these other things. So it actually does work for you, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, it has worked for us.
Right. I mean, it has, right?
Absolutely.
And then the other thing that I find if you don't have that, it doesn't build character, right?
Absolutely.
You become very vanilla and there's nothing there.
That's good. I've never heard that term used like that before. That's good.
Right. But it's true. I always gravitate to the people who've had the most kind of fucked up kind of background because they're interesting or there's something about them that's unique and different. It just works out that way. I never ever.
And so I was just going to say, if you're going to do vanilla, do French or homemade.
Yeah, I was good. That's right. That's exactly. I like French vanilla.
Yeah,
actually.
I love French vanilla. I'm just saying, we're not against you guys just being, but spice it up.
Spice it up a little bit. I do find that though to be a truism in life.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
When all these people, I live here in LA and I live, obviously we're very close to a lot of people with tons of money who come from a lot of money. And that's not me at all. I've worked for every dollar I've ever had. But I don't relate to these people who just kind of were born into it a lot or married it or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And I think there is something really true to that. And if you want to get mad at me, people, that's fine. But I do believe that to be true.
If you look at challenges the right way, they just add color.
Yeah.
They add color to your life. And I always say, it literally puts me in a position where I'm not fake. I'm not in a fake, shallow relationship with you. I really have struggled. So I understand struggle when you say you're struggling. I get it.
True.
I struggle. And I'm not afraid to, I don't have to compartmentalize my failure. I'm not afraid to keep that failure present with me at all times.
Right.
And use it to my advantage.
It also makes you, I think, because if you struggled in school, for example, right? It creates more resourcefulness. You had to get really good and dominant in other things. you seem to have a really high emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like you can pick up on other people's
Absolutely. IQ.
IQ. It's true though.
Strong,
like super
emotional
strong.
IQ. Absolutely.
And again, like a lot of times people who are really dominant in school don't have a really, not always. It's
absolutely.
But
there's no definites. But to your point, I find that, and I would say this to my daughter all the time, who has a brilliant mind. You're only going to be in school for so long. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you'll be in the real world much longer than you're in school. And so you got to figure out when you get out of school, how you've been able to navigate in school. You got to do that in the real world.
Yeah.
Because again, school isn't something that you can do. Like you can't be a career student.
Right. There are some people who are.
Very few, but
you can't.
And I don't know that works. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't, but it's an excuse not to get into the real world, right? Like I'll just keep on taking more and more stuff because it keeps me away from like real life, basically, right? So your relationship with your real dad, how is it now? Like, how did you? What happened? I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah. How do I say this?
Just say it. Be authentic.
Yeah. Well, he's watching. I don't let me get in his feelings. We have a super healthy relationship. I think what I did wrong, because I longed for it as a kid, I had expectations that I shouldn't have had. So in terms of the relationship, healthy relationship, in terms of what I thought it would be, it's not necessarily that.
How about with your dad who raised you? Because you left home and then you kind of like lived on the street.
Yeah.
He was the one who actually raised you.
Yeah. I messed that one up. You know, and I think the emotional part that you talk about, I'm super, in tune now. But as a child, when my mom married, I was like, yo, I don't, even though I was still young, I'm like, yo, I don't want this. Like, I'm like, I want to be with you. I don't want to be with you and him. And so I never really emotionally, especially when I found out that wasn't my biological father, I did not emotionally let him in or connect. And so you're talking about leaving home. You're talking about running away from home at 13 all the way. I ran away from home at 13. I would come back and forth because I was a child and I was afraid. At 16, I was like, yo, I've done this a few times. I think I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I can handle this. I think I've tasted it. I think I'm good. I think I can handle leaving and never coming back again. Right. And so in that process, I was young and ignorant, and I didn't look at challenges the way I look at them now. And a lot of what happened in my life, I blamed him because it was easier than blame my mom because we were so close and I love my mom so much. It was easy to say, oh, this is all your fault, when really it was my mother's fault. When my mom was the one that decided she's not going to tell. Matter of fact, as an adult, my father who raised me was like, yo, I wanted you to know I wasn't your father. That your mom, that, for whatever reason, that's how she wanted to do it. And so of course, that's my wife. I went along with it. So I built up some resistance. And then when I left home, I chronicled it. I told my father, like, if I ever see you in Detroit, I'll kill you. Right. That's how angry and ignorant and hurt I was. And so then as an adult, I leave home at 16. I go to college. I'm in Alabama. I'm not really home that much. And so I did not allow there to be a relationship, to the point that now as an adult, like, yo, I worship the ground my father walk on. I understand now as a father what it's like to be a father. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like it hit me once I started, having children. I'm raising kids now. I'm like, oh, I put you through that. So I'm super remorseful, but you can't go back to 12. You can't fix some of the damage, that you cause, especially when you're not there. It's like you can fix damage if you're living with a person every day. You have opportunities to create new moments.
Right.
But like you leave at 16 and you literally disrespect the person that raised you and threaten the very person that raised you, like there's going to be some animosity. So I leave and there's not time in between to repair that. And so as an adult though, once I start having kids, it's like, yo, there's nothing I can do about my past, but he has multiple sclerosis, was diagnosed in 85. I didn't realize that because he wasn't like, he's still walking around or whatever. So, and because I wasn't involved like that, I didn't really understand it. I didn't get it. But now any trip, if my parents want to spend the winter in California, if they want a vehicle, if they want to, it's like, I got you. What can I do to support you? So now as an adult, but it's just some stuff I did as a child that I regret. So we have a good relationship, but not the type that he deserves to have based on what he did. We didn't have that, so.
Are they surprised or are they not surprised of your success?
Well, my father who raised me was like, yo, I saw it all along.
Right.
Like you had always been able to whatever. It's just your demons that got in the way. It was always you being super emotional and not in control of my emotion then like I am now. So I'm still emotional. It's just I have more control of it.
Right.
Like I understand it. I've studied. I've gone to school. I've studied psychology. I've had coaches. I've had therapists. So I have a better understanding of how this emotional IQ thing works versus when I was 12 and I was crying out, I want my daddy, but didn't really know how to say I want my daddy and doing dumb stuff. Now it's like, okay, you're that same guy is crying out, but let's be productive with how we use him. Let's use him to help other kids who are feeling the same way.
So then how did you actually really harness then what you have? Like what were your habits daily? Like I know we talked about the fact that you did all the practicing of the cadence and watched everything and read a lot of books, but do you still do it? Like what is your day like now? Are you still like you are a beast? Like you work, you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Like what is your day like? What do you do?
So, and I don't want people to get caught up in the routine. I think you need routines. But I also
this is your routine, but everyone has to find their own.
And they need to find substance in the routine, not just you get up at this time, you do this at this time, you like a zombie just going through the motions. Like you really need to find things that are going to heal you and make you whole and bring out that superpower.
Right.
But for me,
and harness that
harness it, which is important because that superpower is like you remember when like you used to watch the superheroes when they were kids. And it's like Superman found out Superman's doing dumb stuff, throwing stuff. It's like that's how we are. So the first thing that I do, people would say, you pray. Yeah, okay, yeah, but it's not prayer. It's not just me talking to God. It's really me talking to God and talking to my inner self. It's like me saying, what's up, Eric? It's two of us. Which one are we going to be today? And so I want to talk to the intelligent Eric, the Eric that's going to make good decisions. And I want to walk him through what he's experiencing. So when I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, what happened yesterday? What did you screw up? What did you mess up? How could you have done that better? Let's hold each other accountable today. Let this Eric hold that inner Eric. Let's hold you responsible. Okay, now what do you plan on doing today? Did you say something to your wife? Did your wife say something to you? Did you process something wrong? Did you get angry with the police officer who pulled you? Like, what did you do wrong? What did you do right? So it's almost like a daily, what do they call that? SWOT analysis. It's almost a daily ET is strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats. Like every day with myself. Every day you do that? Every day I'm waking up at 3 o'clock. I'm spending an hour and a half, 2 hours with self.
So you still wake up at 3 o'clock? You do wake up at 3 o'clock?
I do, but I don't. So I do still keep that same routine, if you will, but because I'm so much older, my wife is like, yo, you've been doing that since we were, and you always promised me. So some weeks it's like we're going out of town and she wants me to stay in the bed at 3 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, let's stay up late. Yeah, let's stay up late.
What's late, 7 a.m.?
Yeah, right. No, 5:36. When the sun comes up, I got to get out the bed. Like I can't sleep while the sun is out. So now I'm practicing more to stay up and enjoy life. Cause she was like, yo, our whole life you said we were going to get to this point. So when are we going to get to this point? And I'm like, well, we're going to get there. She's like, no, you're number one in the world. Like, that don't make sense. Like, you
but
never
to stay number one in the world.
I feel I gotta, but I'm finding that balance. So maybe not 3, but if I get up at 5:30 or 6, that same self-analysis. Okay. That same SWOT. But 3 earlier, and I only did it because I tell people I got up at 6, the older people in the neighborhood was walking around. 5 o'clock, the animals are walking around. 3 o'clock is the only time you can really get up and be by yourself. By 4:30, deer are walking around. Whatever it is in your neighborhood that's walking around. 3 o'clock, stars are out. The weather is gorgeous. There's no sound. You don't see TVs on in the house, cars driving around. So 3 for me was just because I'm positively ADHD, any and everything could draw my attention. 3 o'clock was like, yo, I can get some peace. Nobody's going to call me. The phone's not going to be ringing. The babies are not going to be asking me for their homework or where their shoes are. Like 3 was my solace. It was like just me, myself, and my creator.
What time did you go to bed then?
I would go to bed no later than 10. So like 9:30. Well, actually in the winter, I'd go to bed early because the sun sets so early. So maybe about 7:38. But in Michigan, I don't know why, the sun doesn't go down at 10 o'clock at night. So I would probably go to bed 9:30, 10 o'clock.
What were some other like things you did daily or that you do
daily?
So
I have a group of men for the last 30 years I've been getting on the call with, and we're processing. My wife said this, my wife did this. Well, how would you respond? I'm working and it don't seem to, okay, why aren't you making money?
Every day?
Monday through Friday, we were doing this. Then we started doing it on Saturday, an hour or more every morning with my bros. So I'm doing 3 to 4:35. We getting on from 5 to 6:30.
Is there a moderator or you're doing it?
We just all talking. We just all kicking it. You know, all right, what's going on? What happened yesterday? Give me your testimony. What did you read? Some book you're reading? All right, let's read a book together, and us just holding each other accountable.
How many of you are there?
So it started probably with about 5 of us. Today, there's probably about 40, 50 getting on the call at any time. And it's still going on. Still, that call is still happening. Men's prayer line is still happening. And men just holding each other accountable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every day?
Every day. That was religious for me for over 20 years.
Is there a time that this happens? Like, is it like 10 o'clock in the morning or?
Yeah. 3 to 5 for me. 5:30 we would get on. Some of us go 5:30 to 7. Some would stay on depending on where they were.
In the morning? Is it
in the morning? We're on 5 o'clock. And you know what's so crazy? It's like imagine a person who's struggling with substance.
Right.
And they're going to AA. And they got a coach. We were like our own coaches.
Right.
You know, we were like
Keeps
our own
accountable.
therapists. Yep. And we just hold each other accountable every day. Eric, you're supposed to write a book. When you gonna write the book? Eric, I thought you was gonna get your PhD. When you gonna get your PhD? Okay, let me help you. Let me show you how to. So it's just like an accountability group that's just out of this world.
Who are these people? Are
just random people. Some people I went to college with. Some people we started, we went to school together. We went to church together. And then their friends and then their friends. And then people follow me online, start coming. So it just men.
Is anyone welcome?
Everybody. We give out the number 256-530-0570. People get on, no code, no nut. They get on and some people stay on for a year to get healthy, get over drugs, start their business. Some people stay for 2. Some people stay for 4 weeks. It's just like a bus. We just get up same time every day, stop at the stop, you get on, you get off, and we just show up every day and keep doing what we're doing.
You know what I think is really amazing about you is that you do so much stuff like what you're just saying, like not for money. Like a lot of times when you get to be as successful as you are doing this, there's so many ancillary businesses or that everything is like for profit, right? Like you're doing this, but there's a fee attached to this. Or you want to get this, you got to get that. You give so much you give free help, free knowledge. Most of it's, I feel like everything besides the motivational stuff is actually free.
Yeah.
I mean, is that just because you're a bad business guy, or is it because is there like a or is there like a purpose behind it?
Probably both.
Yeah.
But
you have CJ. Is it what's his job then?
Yeah. So when CJ came in, it's crazy. CJ was 21 in college, and CJ heard me speak. He was there for the speech.
Okay.
He worked for me. He was my graduate assistant at some point, and we tried to go to a school the next day, and he couldn't get me booked at the school. And CJ was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, this doesn't make sense. This guy just gave one of the greatest speeches I've heard in my life, but yet we can't get him to go to a middle school. Like, he's like, this is crazy. I didn't even ask for money. They just was like, no, the kids in school, whatever. So CJ said from that point, craziest thing I ever heard in my life. This is how focused this kid was. He said, I'm going to make you a household name. And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know what you would do from a day-to-day basis to do that. Like, I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm like, I love you, solid kid, let's go. And I'll never forget the first time I was in the airport and somebody was like, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy, E.T., bring it from the bottom. And I was like, okay, one person. And then I remember I can't go out to eat now without people. E.T., what's up? And it's so different. I've never been a celebrity. Like, I don't know what it's like to be an athlete or an entertainer, or whatever. But people literally come up to me crying. Like, yo, my marriage, bro. Like my wife and I were about to get a divorce. You shared intimately about your marriage and some of the struggles you were going through. And you made me as a man feel like yo, it's okay to wash dishes. It's okay to be submissive to my wife. Like, it's okay to say I love you. Like, it's okay to, and I never knew another man who made it okay to mop floors or do like, yo, I always wanted to support, but I grew up, she's supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to do that. Like, you made it cool to be transparent, to say you hurt. Like, and so it was just like, yo, see, you did it. And so then we put a book out. We sold, we pre-ordered enough. There was enough pre-orders to pay for the 5,000 books that we ordered. It was like, yo, this is crazy.
How many pre-orders did you have? This is for Secrets to Success.
Yeah, Secrets to Success. We had about 600 pre-orders.
Oh, wow. Good.
So I literally, and it was enough to pay for the 5,000 that we ordered.
Right.
It was self-published. I literally drove to the bookstore, picked up the books in Ohio, went to the local post office, and I made a phone call and talked them into letting me set up an office, and I signed all 600 of those books. And I signed probably about 15,000, 20,000 books. Carl used to be like, you can get a stamp. I'm like, a stamp? Anybody could get a stamp. But if I sign each one, people will know that, yo, this is meaningful. And one day when I die, like, you are first, and I would literally put 1 of 1,000, 2 of 1,000, 3 of 1,000.
Wow.
Like, I literally kept up with it so that one day you could say, I remember forget to do Eric. Eric was the first one. He bought the first Secret to Success book. And so he would have that book one day when I die, like, yo, this is E.T., this the first one. So for me, I've never done anything for money just because I felt like historically, Martin Luther King didn't do it. Rosa Parks didn't do it. Garvey didn't do it. Like, we're where we are because those people made sacrifice to the point where Martin Luther King lost his life. He died for our freedom. So it's like, yo, just the people, Mother Teresa is like my idol. It's like Mother Teresa wasn't like, all right, for the healing, we go $59.99 and I'll come and heal everybody.
Yes,
Mother Teresa was just like, yo, Gandhi was just like, yo, I'm going to not eat. He wasn't like, all right, I'm not going to eat for 40 days. And so we going to do a fundraiser for every day I don't eat. Let's see if we can raise $5,000. He was just like, yo, I'm not going to eat and I'm going to help. So I grew up under people who just gave. And I really believed in my heart, with the same measure that you give, it shall be given unto you. And here's what I love. The world has proven that right. Like, the world made me number one. No advertisements. Like, I've never had no sponsors. I ain't never been on TV. I've never had no commercials. I've never had a NFL or NBA team sponsor me. I've never had anybody like, yo, we got a free stadium. Come and speak at the free stadium. Like you said, we work for everything, but the people have worked for me for everything, Wow. And so even the publishing deal with Penguin, their whole thing was, well, what have you done? How many books have you sold? And so I've been able to show, yo, before I ever had to deal with y'all, this is how many people bought. Like, you can go and check, this is how many people bought this particular book. And so the videos, people watching, bringing me to their middle schools and high schools, bringing me to their college. Like, yo, Cam Newton literally was like, yo, I watched his videos. He practically, from the motivational standpoint, raised me. So when he went to the Carolinas, him and my boy Thomas is gonna kill me. He was like, I'll pay for you to come. Thomas Davis, like, I'll pay for you to come to the Carolinas. They literally paid. And then Coach was like, so the kids that go to Alabama and tell Nick Saban, like, yo, we need ET here. It's they follow
Do you do
me.
that there? Like,
I spoke for Alabama 3 years. Like, every fourth year I would come and do work. And then the people who leave Alabama and go to Auburn or go to Clemson or wherever they go, they call me like, can you come? So the world has rewarded me for all the giving that I've done. My family, we don't want for anything. And I don't see life as, you are worth 50 million. You're worth $1 billion. I see life as, I want to win a Nobel Prize because Desmond Tutu won it. Nelson Mandela won it. Martin Luther King won it.
Right.
These are my heroes. And they weren't known because they were billionaires. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that is a path you could take. But all my heroes were known because they gave to the world to their very last breath. Went to jail. Nelson Mandela went to jail for a long period of his time for the freedom of South Africa. So for me, it's like, yo, when I win a Nobel Prize, like, that's my symbol of, man, I made it where the big boys made it, or the big ladies made it.
Yes. Yeah. Is that your why then? You know, like you talk about having to have a why that's bigger than like a house. Okay. Because once you get the house, now what?
Yeah.
All right. Because anyone, exactly. Buy another house or like a Rolls Royce. All right. Like once that's like a very shallow, empty, vapid goal, right? Why? Right. Because truthfully, anyone can really get that. You get some money, you can buy that.
Absolutely.
There has to be something bigger. Is that your why, the Nobel Prize?
Yeah, that's my why. Because it's like if you win, if you're the best and you worked hard in the NBA, you know, you get the finals.
Yeah,
you know, if you are in hockey, you get the you get the Stanley Cup. You're in football, the Lombardi Trophy. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the rewards that people get for working hard.
Right.
In my field, it's the Nobel Peace Prize. Like that's what I see myself getting. And why do I do it? I do it because I was rock bottom. And there were people who poured into me when I was rock bottom. Like Didi poured into me when I was rock bottom. So I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like if Didi was to die today for some crazy reason, I wouldn't have a problem getting remarried. I got a bunch of stuff. Like people know who I am. Yeah. Somebody will be out there like, yo, I'll marry my man. You know what I'm saying? For no other reason, I'm going to be stable. Yeah. It look like he take care of his wife. What about those people who believed in me when it was no reason to believe in me?
Right. And so, sorry, go ahead. So because no one believed in you, you feel you got to give back.
So that's what I believe. I believe you had nothing and there were people who had something who said, we're going to bless you with nothing because we believe in you.
So then, isn't CJ's, because you have a bunch of people who are on your team. Yeah. Okay, I've got two questions, actually. So what is CJ's role then? He helped get you to the place where like everyone knows you. How did he do it? Like what was his, if you weren't doing ads and you weren't on TV and you weren't having sponsorships, what did he do? He just posted your videos? Was he a social media manager?
And he never posted videos. This is crazy. Okay. Carl posted the videos.
Here.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Carl posted the videos. Okay. But CJ managed every word. Oh. CJ said, listen to me, of that 30-minute speech, like the best speeches that you see, listen to the whole hour. He was with me and was like, that part right there. So cut that part out right there, put this with that, and then get that out. The world needs to hear Eric say that. So the Secret to Success video, C was like, that was an hour video.
I mean, trust me, I know.
Yeah, it was about an hour video. So C was like, nope, we will only take 17 minutes out. But then we'll cut that 17 into 3 minutes, and then we'll put that out.
Oh, the one I was watching, you were like in a blue shirt. You were talking it was like part one. There's like the whole thing. You're in a classroom.
Yeah, and that was longer than that. But that's the part that C took out and was like, so that's what he did.
Okay.
He literally said, this is what, and C will tell you today, I'm still your number one fan. So as your number one fan, I know what other fans want to hear.
Right.
And I'm going to extract that and put that out with music, with B-roll. Now, Carl, of course, is a genius from Barbados. You know, he was one of those kids where it's 2 tracks. What do you call it? Vocation or science. He took science. His brother was like a PhD chemist. Carl did 2 masters in science. So when Carl takes a video into a lab, like, it's not like most people just, I want to make money. Like Carl takes it in like it's his soul. And like Carl won't say this, but when you see motivational speaking with B-roll, that was Carl. That didn't exist with Les Brown. Les Brown just put up his video as is. Yeah. Tony, as fire as these dudes are, they just put up there whatever. Carl was the first one to start putting music and putting B-roll. Carl was the first one to do that.
So
now everybody's doing it.
Now everybody's doing it.
But Carl was the first one in 2006 to do that. And so between Carl and CJ, it was, we're going to put out the best stuff we think of Eric. Then CJ was genius. He said, from the algorithm, you have white males from the age of 25 to 40, salespeople who are listening to your stuff to get pumped. He's like, yo, bump videos. Let's do a mixtape. So we'll take their favorite artist, the favorite music, put your voice in that, and then boom, and the mixtapes skyrocketing. Now corporations start calling me because they were coming to work, and instead of playing just music, they were playing my stuff out loud and going to work. So CEOs was like, yo, who is this dude, Eric Thomas? He got my staff in here on Blaze. They selling more than they've ever sold before. They're more focused than ever was before. Like, I'm literally going, oh, if this 25 to 40-year-old white males, let's go. Let's now start talking business and how you work and your work ethic and you understanding the culture and building the culture. So I specifically started speaking to that group. CJ was like, no, use these terms, use this word. Now I'm at Michigan State. I'm learning the language, the code, the rule. I grew up in Detroit. So most of my lingo was not for white males, 25 to 40. But now that I'm in Michigan State and now my friends are diverse, now I'm like, oh, okay. I get the nuance. I get the jokes. I get what I'm supposed. Okay, makes sense. I grew up, one thing I say is I grew up, you all over the place with pastors. I realized when I did corporate, you had to be more linear. So it wasn't that I couldn't be linear. I just didn't know nothing about it. Now that I know, they much prefer A, B, C, D than A, D, Z, back to H. It's like, no problem. I can do that.
Right.
And so we start really changing our videos to meet CEOs' needs. And then all of a sudden they start calling like, yo, how much you charge? And so she was like, all right, now we got to make you a celebrity, because I realized Les and Tony and Zig, they don't make their money because of what they say. It's what they say and their celebrity. So we got to get your celebrity up and get way more people to know who you are, because as your celebrity grow, we can charge you more. And then, of course, he starts studying all the other greats and starts saying, okay, we're going into real estate. Like, they not just doing motivational speaking. We going real estate. We're going to open up a solar company. Okay, we're going to start writing books. Okay, we got to start teaching courses. We got to teach people how to get in real estate. Okay, and so C started becoming a genius and saying, we're not going to necessarily go to these companies because they'll still own us. We need to own our own everything. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is figure out, how do we start our own real estate and how do we do our own? And then once we got there, it was like, all right, now we can deal with other people because we got our own now. Because what we don't want for you is you to have to speak till you 60 and 70. He's like, yo, I'm not mad at other speakers that do that, but we don't want you to put yourself in a position where you always have to speak. So we're going to find investments for you to put some of the real estate money in. And so that's what C has done. And that's what C, did. The book was his idea to say, hey, you got to get on the New York Times bestseller list. Like, that's something you haven't accomplished. And among the people that do what you do, that's one of their accolades. We got to go after it. So I'm like, all right, let's go.
Do it.
Don't know if we'll do it, but we're going after it.
Listen, if anyone could do it, it's going to be you.
We're going after it.
Yeah, and listen, the name is even that, UOU. Did you come up with that?
I did.
Yeah.
That was a speech.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That one did really well.
Yep.
And so did you take that title because it did super
Absolutely.
well? And then you just put it.
And then because I felt like of everything I've ever done, that's what everybody can relate to. You owe it to yourself to stop whining, crying. Like, at the end of the day, this country has its challenges. Like, I'm sure any other country has its challenges.
Well, this one especially.
But here's the deal. There is still opportunity in this one. So I've been to other places that have their challenges, but there's no opportunity.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
We have opportunities here. And so for me, it's like, y'all, we got opportunity. Like, there are other countries that I don't care what time you wake up or what time you go to bed. You just can't be a multimillionaire off the streets. Like, they don't have the resources. In some countries, it's not even designed for just regular people to be able to do business. There are places in this country where you can't just get on the internet because you want to. You just can't surf the web because you want to. They got that joke on lockdown. Now, I'm not saying everything we do is right, but when COVID hit, there's some countries like, you're not coming out the house.
Yeah. Like,
I don't care how you feel, what you think. Like, I don't care how much of an adult you think you are. You're not leaving the house.
That's Canada. I'm Canadian, and that's like, you weren't allowed to. You were on curfew, 100%.
That's what I'm saying. We have some opportunities here and a little democracy here. So it's like, if you don't take advantage of that, that's on you.
Right.
And yes, we all have our stories of who wasn't there and who abused as well. I say this to people all the time when they say like, you act like you not black. Like, you act like you're not African-American in this country. I said, listen to me, I'm very much black, and I definitely know what the challenges are. But my wife does not need to live off of what somebody else is going to try to do to stop her from. She owed to live. We got a house in San Diego. We deserve to have a house. I fly first class or private if I want. Like, there are luxuries in this world. I deserve to have those. And I'm not going to let any challenge or trial or any human who feels like I don't like Eric because of the color of his skin. I don't care. You could close as many doors as you want, but there's some people who are opening doors. So I'm gonna focus on the people who are opening the doors. I'm gonna focus on the people who gonna let me on their podcast. Yeah, some people that won't let me on. I'm not focusing on them. I'm focusing on who's letting me on, and I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna do my thing when I get on there. Why? Because Eric owes it to Eric to live the best possible life Eric can live, and no challenge. Single parent mom had me when she was 18, pregnant 17. My father not in my life, South Side of Chicago, whatever the challenges are. I deserve, in this short life that I have, I deserve to live it on my terms. And so you owe you to live life on your terms and do whatever it takes to actually make that a reality. And that's why I said, oh, this is simple. Now, I tried to go, you owe you, but the publishers were like, that's just too simple. But I was like, why we got to spell it out? Just go, you owe you.
Oh, I like that actually too. But yeah, I get what you're saying. First of all, that was like a sermon right there that I didn't have to pay for. So thank you. That was amazing. Could you do it again? Do another one? I'm going to pick a line and then you just riff off. Yeah. No, it's amazing. I was like really in it. I'm like, yes, exactly. Yes. Because it's like taking advantage of the opportunity in front of you. People don't do that enough. Absolutely. They have to take advantage. They're going to grab it and take advantage of it, because if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it. No question. That's the point.
And then here's my problem. You're upset that somebody else is doing it.
Yes, exactly.
Because you're thinking to yourself, I knew Eric, like he dropped out of school. He was homeless. So now you feeling some type of way because you're like, how did he do it and I didn't do it? Now you mad at me because I took advantage and you didn't. And I tell people this all the time. I'm not co-signing because kids watch me. So I'm not co-signing gambling. But I used to play cards when I was homeless to make money. And here's what I tell people. It doesn't matter if you have a royal flush. If I know you have one, you're not going to make no money off of me. Because I know I'm looking at your face and you smiling and you excited. So I'm like, oh, there go the $3 that we put up, I'm out. It doesn't matter if you don't have a good hand if you act like you got a royal flush. I know people who had absolutely nothing in their hand and they won the whole pot with nothing in their hand. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what hand you have in life. You can have the best hand in the world. You could come from the richest parents in the world and still get strung out on drugs, still end up in prison somewhere, still hang with the wrong people and die at a young age. Or you could come from poverty and become the next best whatever. It does not matter the hand that you're dealt in life. It only matters how you play it. So you owe you to play your hand to the best of your ability. So do I kind of feel like, man, I don't know that every motivational speaker in the world has a degree. Okay, so what? I'll get as many degrees as I want to put me in a position to be number one in the world. I don't care. You telling me I go to school and learn? You get an opportunity to meet great people, to experience walking across the stage and seeing my mom happy and my kids seeing their dad. I graduated from Michigan State. My son graduated from Michigan State. My daughter walked across the stage. Like, I broke some cycles. So I don't care what it takes to be number one. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And it's not, well, this person doesn't have to do that. Why should you do? I don't care. Their life and my life are two different lives. But if there is a path, we're going to figure out what it is and we're going to blaze that joker. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be fair enough, because this country is built on the backs of so many different people. We're going to document that trail I blaze so that everybody else who wants to blaze that trail has a blueprint in the book You Owe You. They have a blueprint now of how do you play your hand so you can become successful.
That's amazing. First of all, you have to do a video next on I don't care. Okay. That should be your tagline. I love it. And then just go again.
I don't care.
I don't care. And then just say that whole thing again. That was so good. Yeah. And I know you weren't doing it up for like a thing, but like everything out of your mouth is like, I'm like, yes.
Maybe I should start doing it for a thing. Remember, bad business, man.
Exactly. I'm telling you, terrible. I mean, I got to talk to CJ, honestly. Right. I mean, like, if you're looking at Tony Robbins, look what he's doing. I mean, like, it's like he's investing in everybody's businesses. He's doing these courses, these masterminds, or like, it's everything.
Everything.
And you
look at the camera and say that to CJ.
I listen, I'm just saying, CJ, you and I have to talk later, okay? So because I don't know what time it is. Oh, I have another thing going on, and so do you. But I have a ton of one question for you. When you get hired by companies to do all this stuff, is it always for motivational speaking, because you do all that other stuff about their personality?
So the next level, and again, you talked about being a better businessman. So if you're hiring me to speak to help with retention and performance, well, then let me give you a tool that we can give to you so that you can manage your employees better. So we do have an assessment called a flight assessment. And again, for me, it was like, yo, I've seen all these tests where it's like gorilla, giraffe, lion, bear. I'm like, those people don't even work together.
Yeah.
You know, so we came up with the flight assessment. Why? Because it's a real ecosystem. It is a pilot needs a flight attendant that needs a ground crew that needs air traffic control. Like I don't know if people know, but a part of the reason why we're having so many problems with flights is because we're 56% down on air traffic control. Imagine flying, and we've seen cases where pilots have flown without listening to the air traffic control, and it's a catastrophe. It's
impossible, exactly.
It's a catastrophe. People have lost their lives flying when the air traffic control said don't fly. So you actually need all four of them. So what I teach supervisors is, you're talking to a flight attendant like they're a pilot, or you're talking to a pilot like they're air traffic control. They have a total different language. They have a total different strength. They have a total different perspective. So if you really want to retain your people, first figure out who they are, and then figure out how to use their superpowers to your advantage as an employer. Figure out the language. And then the thing I love about our assessment is that it's not just their superpower, but when they adapt, when they're going through life, or when things aren't going well, who do they become? Because that's the demon we talked about.
Yeah.
If Eric Thomas was always that Eric Thomas, then nobody would ever had a problem with Eric Thomas. But it's that other guy who, when he feels, my mother lied to me about who my real father is, I got a trust issue. Oh, I think you're lying. I don't think you're being honest. You need to know who that Eric Thomas is.
Totally.
Because if you can figure out who that Eric Thomas is, you can help him get back up to the great Eric Thomas that he is. So a lot of us, we got hit by COVID. You just expect them to be the same. No, if you look at the assessment, they adapt when they get hit hard. They adapt when they get a divorce. They adapt when their kids are struggling in school. And so you're only hiring the resume person. You don't know the demon person. And you need to figure out who the demon is so that when the demon shows up to work, you know how to work with that demon to get the best thing out of that demon.
How long does it take? Like when someone hires
15 minutes to look at the assessment.
No, you go in for one day?
I go in for a day, and you know a lot. You give me a week, we can change the world. Again, I chronicle it in my book. Baylor used it, and they won a national title.
That's amazing. Who else used it?
I mean, everybody.
Name a company that you've gone and done this
okay,
with.
I just want to make sure, because some people are like, Eric, you work with Private Federal Express is a company we're working with now
That's
to
amazing.
do the same thing. So some of the players and stuff I don't say because they don't want, they don't like.
They don't want it, yeah.
Name dropping and stuff.
But so you are expanding your business, though.
Oh, no questions asked.
Yeah, I mean,
but I like the fact that I like to charge CJ.
I know. I listen. I have a lot of questions. CJ, I told you, I still have a lot of. There's a lot of like. Missing pieces here, like I get blind spots. I should call it that you should be doing, but we can talk about that later.
Yes.
I find you to be so amazing. I think you're so inspirational.
Thank you.
I have, by the way, I have so many more. I can go on for another hour, but I have
let's
another
do this
podcast.
Again at some point.
Do you promise?
Yeah,
I want to do a part 2.
Yeah, please.
Because like I want to really dive in deeper with some of these things, but I knew we were kind of like short on
we
time.
Have an hour, right?
Well, actually, no.
Do more than an hour?
I can go for an hour and a half, but I have another podcast, and
But do you normally do an hour and a half?
Well, I can. Depends who the person is. I knew with you would be super extraordinary.
Okay, we'll wait then, and we'll do another hour and a half.
Oh, I can go for another 2 hours.
All right, we'll give the people
I
what
have
they
stamina
want.
and endurance that you've never seen. Okay, hip hop preacher.
Yeah, let's
so
go.
this is like nothing. I just feel badly because this other person's here.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? This is the end of part 1. Eric, if you have not yet figured out E.T., the hip hop preacher, he's got bazillions of followers on Instagram, on YouTube. You have to, and you also have to get his book, UOU. And of course, the first book, Secrets to Success. His podcast is the same name, Secrets to Success.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you want to add before
No more.
That's it.
I just want to, no more.
Go ahead.
Just literally go through the videos and just take your time, and it's like Hulu.
It's
like
first of all,
Netflix.
I promise you, nobody will ever just look at one video.
Yeah, it's like Lay's potato chips.
It's like Lay's, exactly. You can't just eat just one. You will see one video, and it will take you down a rabbit hole. Like last night, I'm exhausted because again, one turned into like 11, and it's like now like an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm like, I cannot believe
Turn
this.
it down. Some of you have a problem with volume.
Yeah, exactly. He does scream.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know. But you're amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Part 2, you promise.
It's on and popping.
We're starting at like, okay,
8 in the morning. I'm ready.
It's at 3 in the morning.
Let's go.
I'm going to talk to Dee Dee and make sure you can do it. Yeah. 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching Habits and Hustle. Please watch another video here and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already by pressing the button below.
Hosted by Jennifer Cohen. Visionaries, tune in, you can get to know them. Be inspired, this is your moment. Excuses, we ain't having that. The Habits and Hustle podcast, powered by Habit Nest.